Listen to this very, very carefully. This is from Davos, Switzerland, World Economic Forum. Greenland is non-negotiable. EU Commission Chief Ursula gives direct message to Trump from Davos. Okay. Now, get rid of the illusion that you think Trump's on a different team to these guys. Alright? As long as you think you got someone fighting for you, you're not going to do the fighting yourself. Why? You haven't got a spine. You haven't got a heart. You're scared of you might lose something, like your jet ski or some shit. I don't know. Fucking weak as piss. Just listen very carefully about how things are going to be done digitally. And then think about who's building all the digital shit. Well, it's time you wake up to yourself.
When it comes to the security of the Arctic region, Europe is fully committed. Full solidarity with Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. The sovereignty and integrity of their territory is non-negotiable. And this is why the proposed additional tariffs are a mistake, especially between long-standing allies. The European Union and the United States have agreed to a trade deal last July. And in politics, as in business, a deal is a deal. And when friends shake hands, it must mean something. President Brenda, dear Volker, thank you very much for the warm welcome. Your Majesties, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, indeed, it is now 56 years since the first meeting here in Davos. And the idea of the founder, Klaus Schwab, was to create a platform to discuss the issues and the ideas of the day. Of course, the world has transformed completely since 1971. But the original idea of Davos has remained, as we just have heard in the speeches. So I was delighted that you have gone back to your roots with this year's theme, a spirit of dialogue. Because this spirit is all the more important in a world that is more fractured and more fractious than ever. 1971 was the year of the so-called Nixon shock and the decision to delink the US dollar from gold. In an instant, the foundations of the Bretton Woods system and the entire global economic order set up.
Right, did you notice that she said the world is more fractured and more fractured than ever? Of course it is. That's the plan. Why? So that all these lot can get together and reunite it under an open one world government. We already have one. You're looking at it, okay? You're looking at it. But they're going to make us ask for it.
After the war, effectively collapsed. But it also had two major effects. It inadvertently created the conditions for what would become a truly global order, and it provided a sharp lesson for Europe and on the need to strengthen its economic and political power. It was a warning to reduce our dependencies, in this case, on a foreign currency. The world may be very different today, without any question, but I believe the lesson is very much the same. That geopolitical shocks can and must serve as an opportunity for Europe. And in my view, the seismic change we are going through today is an opportunity, in fact, a necessity, to build a new form of European independence. And this need is neither new nor a reaction to recent events. It has been a structural imperative for far longer. So when I used this term, European independence, around a year ago, I was surprised at the skeptical reactions. But less than 1 year on, there's now a real consensus around this. The sheer speed and almost unthinkable scale of the change have driven this, but the underlying imperative is still the same. The good news is we acted immediately, whether on energy or raw materials, defense or digital, we're moving fast. But the truth is also that we will only be able to capitalize on this opportunity if we recognize that this change is permanent. Of course, nostalgia is part of our human story, but nostalgia will not bring back the old order. And playing for time and hoping for things to revert soon will not fix the structural dependencies we have. So my point is, if this change is permanent, then Europe must change permanently too. It is time to seize this opportunity and build a new independent Europe. And ladies and gentlemen, this new Europe is already emerging. On Saturday, I was in Asunción, in Paraguay, to sign the EU-Mercosur trade agreement. It was a breakthrough after 25 years of negotiations. And with it, the European Union and Latin America have created the largest free trade zone in the world, a market worth over 20% of global GDP, 31 countries with over 700 million consumers, aligned with the Paris Agreement. So this agreement sends a powerful message to the world that we are choosing fair trade over tariffs, partnership over isolation, sustainability over exploitation, and that we are serious about de-risking our economies and diversifying our supply chains. And that will not stop in Latin America. Last year we reached new agreements with Mexico, Indonesia and Switzerland, our host country. We're working on a new free trade agreement with Australia. We are also advancing with the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, the United Arab Emirates, and more. And right after Davos, the next weekend, I will travel to India.
Did you hear that? Working on a new free trade agreement with Australia. Gee, I wonder what that is. That's not in our favour. You see, what you need to realise is they don't see a country as people. They see a country as resources, as a commodity for them. As if they are the only people on this planet with the right to live freely. We are nothing more than batteries. Free trade agreement. You could pretty much say that what they're looking for is the agreement for where they get everything for free. Our trade for free. We trade our time, our life, for their free life. They live for free. And we're the mugs that supply it all. We're the mugs that do all the work. While they jet set round the world, signing free trade agreements. You've got to read between the lines.
There's still work to do, but we are on the cusp of a historic trade agreement. Indeed, some call it the mother of all deals. One that would create a market of 2 billion people, accounting for almost a quarter of global GDP. And crucially, that would provide a first mover advantage for Europe with one of the world's fastest growing and most dynamic continents. Europe wants to do business with the growth centers of today and the economic powerhouses of this century, from Latin America to the Indo-Pacific and far beyond. Europe will always choose the world, and the world is ready to choose Europe.
Yeah, right. The world is ready to choose Europe. Really? How is the world ready to choose Europe? Europe's already been chosen. So have we. You heard her. Energy. Excuse me while I eat in front of you. Energy is the only commodity that they need. Human energy, food, and energy for Panam, I suppose we'll call it, will we? The capital cities of the world. I guess at the moment Davos is the capital of the world, is it? While we're all being each other's boogeyman, people are doing whatever the hell they like. At the moment, we've got politicians with the help from their little friends. They got Donald Trump and his band of no goods, Nigel Farage and his Tommy Robinson and so forth, so on. And David Wright wants to talk about lizard people. Look at his fucking head, he looks like a lizard. Literally. Not going there. He's been very good at creating arguments and fights. And going from someone being ridiculed on TV to everyone's hero in England. He does quite well financially for someone who doesn't work. Now, I've said it heaps of times before. We even wrote it into the local newspaper. But nobody wants to come to the realisation of the fact that we're caught in a tug of war between China and the USA. War. The war between sovereignty and ownership. It's what it is. Who owns the uranium in the ground? I'll keep using uranium because that is the most valuable resource that we have. And we have got lots of it. When you break down the entire world, to the next in line having 7%, and we've got 31% of the world's uranium. And people can't see how that, on its own, everything else aside, which we've got plenty of iron ore, plenty of coal, plenty of magnetite. They mine magnetite here in Tasmania. What do you think goes out of Port Ladder? Magnetite and iron ore. Put all that aside. All that, what is it? Starts with B. What they make aluminium out of? Aluminum. The gold, the lead, the copper, the tin, the bronze, the oil. We've got plenty of it. It's just that Paul Keating signed Saudi Arabia up to a 99-year lease of our oil refinery rights. So it comes down to ownership versus sovereignty. Why do you think there's a big uprising, a big war between police and people that call themselves sovereign citizens? You've been taught to make dickheads of yourselves with this whole sovereign citizen shit. There's no such thing. You're either a sovereign or you're a citizen. Now, do you want to be a citizen? A citizen is somebody that's owned by the state, okay? The sovereign is someone that refuses to be owned by the state and answers to God, answers to their creator. There are no radicalised people of faith. There's only radicalised people who have been hijacked by a hijacked religion. And you're being told to be angry with them, to fight against them. Why? Because we're all each other's boogeyman. I don't have a boogeyman. Because I know who the enemy is. And there's nobody walking around in the street, even if they think I'm their enemy. We're not each other's enemies. We're tricked into thinking it though. We're tricked into thinking that what happened at Bondi happened organically. Fuck off. We're tricked into thinking that what happened at Port Arthur happened organically. No. It was all manipulated and manufactured. It's always manipulated and manufactured, whether it's somebody who's been set off to MK Ultra or whether it's somebody who's just had enough, pop, and he's just finally just flicked his switch, or whether it's central casting and a bunch of sharpshooters. Who knows? But none of it's organic. People are manipulated into all this shit. This is a war between ownership and sovereignty. That's what this is. Not a spiritual war. Well, it is, I suppose. Are you someone of faith or are you religious? No. Because someone who, if you're a man or woman of faith, then you understand, not just comprehend, but you understand that life is precious. All life is precious. Everyone has a sovereign right to be here. Time he's grew up. Time he's grew up and stopped being childish little kids fighting in the sandpit.
And ladies and gentlemen, this reality also reflects the fact that Europe has all the assets it needs to attract investment. The savings, the skills, the innovation with our AI factories and gigafactories and the applications that are necessary, AI first. What we need now is to mobilize collectively these assets to their full potential and to focus on the essential. So focal point number one is to create a conducive and predictable regulatory environment. We live in an age where capital and data can cross Europe in a second. And business must be able to move just as freely. But as things stand...
Thank you. Now remember, do you think she's talking to you as if you're the ones that need to do all these things? No. She's talking to everyone in that room. Not you and me. This is just televised, okay? She's not talking to you. She's talking about you. She's talking about you, not to you. She's talking to everyone in that room. Businesses? Remember, they're moving into a stakeholdership, not shareholder economy, but stakeholder economy. A stakeholder economy in where AI is doing all the work. Where do you fit into that? You don't. Think about that. You don't fit into it. A stakeholder economy where AI does all the work. You're not part of that equation. You're in the way.
Too many companies have to look abroad to grow and scale up. Partly because they face the new set of rules every time they expand into a new member state. So while on paper the market is of 450 million Europeans open to them, it is far more complicated in reality. And that acts as a handbrake on the growth and profit potential of companies. So this is why we need a new approach. We will soon put forward our 28th regime. The ultimate aim is to create a new, truly European company structure. We call it EU Inc., with a single and simple set of rules that will apply seamlessly over our union, so that businesses can operate across member states much more easily. Our entrepreneurs, the innovative companies, will be able to register a company in any member state within 48 hours, fully online. They will enjoy the same capital regime all across the European Union. And ultimately, we need a system where the companies can do business and raise financing seamlessly across Europe, just as easily as in uniform markets like the United States or China. If we get this right, and if we move fast enough, this will not only help EU companies grow, but it will attract investment from across the world. Which brings me to the second focus, investment and capital. We are now building the Savings and Investment Union. We need a large-scale, deep and liquid capital market that attracts a wide range of investors. And this will allow business to find the funding they need, including equity, at lower costs here in Europe. We have made proposals on market integration and supervision to ensure our financial market is more integrated. This covers trading, post-trading and asset management, as well as driving innovation and making our supervisory framework more efficient. This will help ensure that capital flows where it is needed, to scale-ups, to SMEs, to innovation to industry.
Nope. All right.
And the third priority is to build an interconnected and affordable energy market, a true energy union. Energy is a choke point for both companies and households. And just look at the dispersion of prices across European electricity hubs. Europe needs an energy blueprint that pulls together all the parts. This is our Affordable Energy Action Plan. We are, for example, massively investing in our energy security and independence with interconnectors and grids. This is for homegrown energies that we are trying to promote as much as possible, the nuclear and the renewables, to bring down prices and cut dependencies, to put an end to price volatility, manipulation and supply shocks. But now we have to speed up this transition, because homegrown, reliable, resilient and cheaper energy will drive our economic growth and deliver for Europeans and secure our independence. Ladies and gentlemen, whether on trade or business, capital or energy, Europe needs an urgency mindset.
Why do we need an urgency mindset? Have you ever really thought about this? Like, really thought about this properly? Why do we need economic growth? I mean, aren't the rich already rich enough? Aren't the poor already battling hard enough? Why do we need economic growth? Clearly, economics is not a good thing. Now, nor am I for the one world government, universal basic income, with drones and AI doing everything. No, I'm not for drones and AI doing anything at all. I'm all for the sweat of our brow and the toil of our hands and being self-reliant, self-sufficient. I'm all for self-improvement and betterment of ourselves, the betterment of mankind as a whole. Now, for anything to be the betterment of mankind, then mankind's got to get involved. Otherwise, does that movie WALL-E come to mind? Idle hands are definitely the devil's workshop. And the greatest trick the devil ever played was convince you that he doesn't exist. And how's he done that? You've all walked away from God. Now we've got all these silly religious wars going on. Again. Over religion, not over God, not over faith, it's over religion. It's all over babble, babbly, fucking babble. Babylon, what ain't you? Babylon, what ain't you? None of that's got to do with faith. And everything to do with self. Selfishness. Greed. Trying to put yourself up on a pedestal with the Creator, with God. Babbling your bullshit. You are not included. So it's about time you included yourself, don't you think?
Our starting point is good. We are home to global champions in fields ranging from wind power to next generation batteries, from aerospace to the industrial machines that are essential to build the chips and advanced weapons. Our companies are taking up AI at the same pace as their US peers. Europe is in the race for the key technologies of tomorrow. But as global competition gets ruthless, we must show real ambition, especially in those sectors vital for our independence.
Remember, I'm not talking to you, talking to them. Their independence. Their independence means we're not involved anymore. Hear what she said. They're talking about the silicon chips, the computer chips. They're talking about Silicon Valley. They're talking about renewable energies. They're talking about everything that means that we're not needed anymore. And you're voting for this shit. You're voting for that fucking grub Pauline Hanson. You're voting for that grub Anthony Albanese. You're voting for... They're all grubs. Okay, they're all grubs. You're voting for people. You're still stupid enough to vote for people thinking that someone's going to make a difference in Parliament. No. How can they? They can't. The whole system is set up so that no one can actually make any difference. The nail that sticks out gets hammered. Pauline's sold out. She's not coming to be your saviour anymore. Once upon a time, the fish and chip owner from, where was it, Ipswich or wherever, the fish and chip shop owner, that ain't the same person. She actually doesn't even look like her anymore. I'm not going to go there into that conspiracy theory. I don't do conspiracy theories. I'll leave that for the rabbits down in the holes. But her whole demeanour has changed, the way she carries herself. She even sounds like she's telling lies all the time. She doesn't sound truthful. And when I was talking to Liam at Malcolm Roberts' office, you know, they actually asked me to run here in Tasmania as a candidate for the Senate. They did. Multiple times. They asked a criminal, a so-called criminal, to run for One Nation. Yeah. Knowing fuck all about me. But when I mentioned Ricardo Bosi a couple of times, they were on board with Ricardo Bosi, but Ricardo Bosi wouldn't budge. And he kept going on about the 28 pedophiles. They said, we was willing to bring him on board, but... Well, it's funny that, isn't it? Because Ricardo Bosi's never mentioned anything about that. They was ready to bring One Nation was ready to bring Ricardo Bosi on board. And that was told to me directly by Liam at Malcolm Roberts' office. Go and ask him. Put the two of us in the same room and see if he'll still deny it. That should tell you volumes of things. They say Ricardo Bosi's stuck on a wheel. Nah. He's just on a different wheel of the same truck. You're an endangered species. We're all expendable. We're on our last days if we don't pull our heads out of our ass and walk away from this shit. Stop playing their fucking silly game. You're all being manipulated. Manipulated, not even necessarily through lies all the time, because they manufacture truth. They manufacture boogeymen. You're chasing the boogeyman. The boogeyman's there, but it was manufactured. It didn't happen organically. It didn't just come about on its own. As long as you keep fucking going and voting and keep playing this fucking stupid fucking game. In fact, I'm going to end it here. Will I? No, let's finish it off. How long we got left? 10 minutes. Let's finish it off, shall we?
Take defense, for example. We have done more on defense in the last year than in decades before. We have started a surge in defense spending up to 800 billion euros till 2030.
Here's a question. If they all want a one world government, who are they defending themselves from? Us? Well, who are they defending themselves from? If they've got no enemies?
Member states are stepping up their investment at record level, and this has helped to triple the market value of European defence.
See, when it comes to war, one man's defence is another man's invader. How can you defend yourself on somebody else's shores? That's an invasion.
Industry companies since January 2022. We now have 3 leading European defence tech startups that have reached unicorn valuation. They are working on AI-powered software and systems for battlefield intelligence, or on advanced dual-use and surveillance drones. So they are also driving innovation and investment in Europe's defence tech industrial base. All of this would have been unthinkable even a few years ago. This now only shows how economy and national security are more linked than ever.
What about people?
But also what we can do when Europeans have the will to match the ambition. So, ladies and gentlemen, this need for ambition is most important when it comes to the security of our continent. In just over a month, we will mark the 4th anniversary of Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. 4 years on, Russia shows no sign of abating.
Because you don't want them to. It's an ethnic fucking cleansing. It's a proxy war to create an ethnic cleansing. You've got nothing to fucking do with the shit they're telling you.
No sign of remorse. No sign of seeking peace. On the contrary, Russia is intensifying its attacks, killing civilians every day as we speak. Just last week, its bombing of Ukraine's energy infrastructure left millions facing darkness, cold, and water shortages. This must end.
We'll end it.
What if you can create your own website by saying, "This is what I want"? With Wix, you can.
We all want peace for Ukraine. We recognize President Trump's role in pushing the peace process forward, and we will work very closely with the United States. And we all agree that therefore Ukraine must be in a position of strength to go to the negotiation table. And this is why we Europeans have decided to provide Ukraine with a loan of 90 billion euros for 2026 and 2027. With this support, we make sure that Ukraine can bolster its defense on the battlefield, strengthen its defense capabilities for a peace agreement, and keep basic services running.
You know what that's going to create, don't you? Tactical nukes. Get ready for the tactical nukes to fly. Putin will only put up with so much. And I think he's about at his wit's end. So East and the West. But don't be fooled, because the West needs the East. You think fucking... Don't be fooled by this shit, alright? It's all proxy wars. It's all ours, proxy wars. This isn't between Russia and Ukraine. If you're still believing that shit, go back to school. Go back to kindergarten and play blocks or whatever it is you do. It's a proxy war for resources. No different to what is going to happen right here in Australia. A proxy war for resources. We're just in the way. Okay? They don't give a blind fuck about the people on the ground in Ukraine any more than they give a blind fuck about you or me. We're in the way. We've been great caretakers for a while. We're no longer needed. They no longer need a maid. They no longer need people to dig the resources out of the ground. They've got AI to do it. Which means the resources will go further. Why? Because we won't be around. Means they get it all to themselves now. You're only going to need a small handful of people to run things. Let's say 500 million, according to the Georgia Guidestones. There's a lot to gather from this speech here. A lot.
Above all, it reaffirms Europe's unwavering commitment to the security, the defense, and the European future of Ukraine. And in parallel, we decided to permanently immobilize the Russian assets, and that we reserve the right to make use of them. This should serve as a stark reminder to Russia and as a message to the world. Europe will always stand with Ukraine until there is a just and lasting peace.
Let's minimize that. I don't know if I've still got it here or not. Here we go. Open. Thank you. So gee, look at all that. This is the plan. This is the plan for the Seven Nation Army. Right? There's 7 nations there. This is what they're planning to come out of the war, or to go into the war looking like. So we're going to have United States, North and South America all as one, Canada, right? Alaska, all these islands, Greenland, Russia, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, all closing in on the east, on the eastern countries, which suggests to me that they're planning on capitulation here somewhere. Capitulation to Russia, or the other way around? Probably the other way around. And how do they plan to do that? Over the Arctic Circle. Into what? A global north and south. Right? An economic global north and south. What sort of economics? what they need to survive. Food, minerals, resources. For who? United Nations, World Economic Forum. Making sense now?
Ladies and gentlemen, I've spoken a lot today about European independence, on partnerships, on prosperity and security. So I would like to conclude with Greenland, an issue which cuts to the heart of all three of these imperatives. When it comes to the security of the Arctic region, Europe is fully committed. And we share the objectives of the United States in this regard. For instance, our EU member, Finland, one of the newest NATO members, is selling its first icebreakers to the United States. And this shows that we have the capability right here in the ice, so to speak. It shows that our northern NATO members have Arctic-ready forces right now. And above all, that Arctic security can only be achieved together. And this is why the proposed additional tariffs are a mistake, especially between long-standing allies. The European Union and the United States have agreed to a trade deal last July. And in politics, as in business, a deal is a deal. And when friends shake hands, it must mean something.
Whoa, man, amazing car. When did you become a millionaire?
What is this for?
We're trying to get advice for the younger
Ladies and gentlemen, we consider the people of the United States not just our allies, but our friends. And plunging us into a downward spiral would only aid the very adversaries we are both so committed to keeping out of the strategic landscape. So our response will be unflinching, united, and proportional. But beyond this, we have to be strategic about how we approach this issue. And this is why we are working on a package to support Arctic security. First principle, full solidarity with Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. The sovereignty and integrity of their territory is non-negotiable. Second, we're working on a massive European investment surge in Greenland. We will work with Greenland and Denmark hand in hand to see how we can further support the local economy and infrastructure. Third, we will work with the United States and all partners on wider Arctic security. This is clearly in our shared interest, and we will step up our investment. In particular, I believe we should use our defense spending surge on a European icebreaker capability and other equipment vital to the Arctic security.
Well, they'll just tell you.
And
The Arctic
fourth,
Circle.
in the same spirit, we need to work with all our regional partners to strengthen our common security. And this is why we will look at how to strengthen our security partnerships with partners such as the UK, Canada, Norway, Iceland, and others. Finally, I believe Europe needs to adjust to a new security architecture and realities that we are now facing. And this is why Europe is preparing its own security strategy, which we plan to publish later this year. And as part of this, we are upgrading our Arctic strategy too. And at the heart of this will be the fundamental principle: it is for sovereign people to decide their own future. Ladies and gentlemen, when I started preparing for this year's address, security in the High North was not the main theme. But in many ways, it feeds into the wider point I started with today. That Europe must speed up its push for independence, from security to economy, from defense to democracy, having the dialogue with our friends and partners, also if necessary with adversaries. The point is that the world has changed permanently and we need to change with it. And therefore, thank you and long live Europe.
Scumbag. Pretty impressive speech off the cuff. Wonder if she's got one of Elon Musk's chips. Whether she was being fed it. Now, don't even need anything in your ear for that now. They got that thing that feeds words straight into your head that they can pinpoint it. What do they call it? The whisperer? The CIA's been using it for years. And on closing, the world has changed, we must change with it. No, you changed the world. You changed the world. And now it's time to move on with it. That's what you really said, isn't it, lady? See, people, they're not talking to us. They're not talking to you. They're talking to the people in the room. You don't fit the equation. You're in the way. What did I say about the Arctic? Everyone's building these icebreakers to build into the Arctic. Why? What's there? What sort of a global catastrophe is that going to create? Another Younger Dryas? A polar flip? More trouble than you can fucking imagine. It's time you whacking folk up to it. It's time you whacking folk up to it. Well, that fracked a bunt, didn't I? Never known. That's with the J it is. I'm gritty put it, fracked a bunt. But you'll just go and vote for Pauline, won't you? Instead of creating your own governance. See, governance, as opposed to government. Government governs you. Governance means you govern. Huge difference. You're led to believe that anarchy is a bad thing, and it's not. That's governance. That's the opposite to government. That's all. That doesn't mean chaos. Government has brought us nothing but chaos. Nothing but. Look around. There's nothing but chaos everywhere you look. Chaos, unruliness, cops thinking they're the law, breaking the law to fabricate criminality. They're fabricating crime. And all you poor simpletons are going, oh, they're a criminal, that person's a criminal, how do you know? Oh, they was at court. That doesn't mean shit. The courts have been usurped and subverted. They've turned our courts into lawfare against the sovereign, against people. This is a war between ownership and sovereignty. Figure that out. God bless yous. We need it.